Welcome to you next officer, and this is Sushil. Today I am with a new question of Gs-3 economy. So let's get begin without wasting much time. The question reads out with keyword critically analyze. So let's today look at how to critically analyze the issue that has been thrown at us. The question reads out as critically analyze India's policy of aggressive privatization. It may be aggressive or not. The claim in the question is aggressive. Let's either justify or opposite in our critical analysis. So, India's policy of aggressive privatization of public enterprises has to be critically analyzed in 250 words. Okay, let's move forward and see what should be done and what can be done. So, if you are interested in producing an answer in 10 to 12 minutes, the best way to introduce is if you have any data, produce it. If you don't have any data, go for a simple definition. The definition could be, as the question is asking about strategic divestment, you can ask, you can expand what strategic divestment is about. So it is reducing stakes. So to whom would you transfer the stakes is the question. So you transfer your stakes. If it's not visible, let's change the pen. You would transfer stakes to non-governmental entities, preferably a private entity. Mind it, here we are transferring stakes to non-governmental entity, preferably a private one, which involves transfer. Transfer of what? Which involves transfer of management. So whenever you're critically analyzing, you can start with criticism first and then show the other side. Whenever you show criticism first and then go for the other side, you will get clues about what suggestions can you give in the end if necessary. So if we discuss the broad plan, what could be done? Your suggestions has to be effective to back your argument. So everything depends on how you criticize it and how you do it properly. Okay, so here if you look at how the body could be produced, you can discuss about what could be pitfalls or shortfalls. Before making transition into the body, you can speak about the context in which this question has come. As you can even say you can say about the Deepam is a body which takes decision about disinvestment, or you can speak about the proposals of disinvestment in BPCL or LIC. Okay, now if you look at situations or pitfalls that you might encounter whenever you have to take a decision to balance social sector of or public welfare which you want to achieve through a social entity or public sector company, or privatization to aggressively move your economy or give push to economy. So basically this boils down to the decision of to choose capitalism or socialism. So if your foundations of economy are strong, and if your inequalities are higher than what is normal, then choose social sector, and you would choose privatization if your economy is too weak to stay on its own foundation. So you can quote such theories in body, and you can mention that if if sold at deep discounts, if sold at deep discounts to private entity, if it is fair price according to market, I don't think there could be any question or trust deficit that would be created against the government. But if sold at deep discounts, then the fair market price, if not realized, it will lead to a scenario where people might question if there is any crony capitalism. So the question of crony capitalism, if it is creeping in, can also be an issue that could be mentioned. And believe me, you can only mention this if the question is asking about critically analyze, otherwise play conservatively rather than being a radical. Then you would suggest alternative measures. Maybe you can say emulate the success story of IRCTC, or go for maybe Bharat 22 bonds, Bharat 22 bonds. Other than that, you can propose 81 bonds using the sovereign guarantee of government to pay only interest perpetually rather than paying actual principal. So these are something which you can do to manage your fiscal deficit, because end of the day it is pretty clear that it's not about the fanciful dialogue of government has no business to be in government has no business to be in business, but it's the money that is required to bridge the gap that has been created due to fiscal deficit. So now uh, we could do one thing. Let's go to the actual answer and look how it could be presented as we discussed so far. Okay. So the actual answer, if you look at that, it defines strategic divestment as a sale of public sector undertaking to non-governmental entity, preferably a private sector. And again, I said it involves transfer of management to make soft transition to the body. We spoke about decision of Deepam, and we bought context of BPCL and possibly other PSBs, public sector banks, in successive years. So then we spoke about whether the fanciful dialogue of government has no business to be in business is appropriate or not. So to that, to back our argument, as we are first criticizing and then suggesting measures or supporting it, so we would take it as a philosophy that if your macroeconomic fundamentals are stable, then focus on reducing inequalities. So social sectors are needed. You can frame this in a way that macroeconomic fundamentals are stable, unlike the scenario in 1991, and inequalities have increased. So social sector role is needed. And the practice of bridging fiscal deficit with divestment is short-term practice with repercussions in long term. So don't be happy with the short-term benefits. Instead, plan for long term. And also it may lead to crony capitalism, and unless sold for healthy profits, You would be deprived of perpetual dividend that you receive from those companies. So you're selling your family silver, or you're killing the duck which lays the golden egg. So you can quote an example of Hindustan Zinc after selling it to Vedanta has its market valuation grow 100 times in 17 years. Now, you can also go for the hindsight where you can call selling IDBI to LIC and hogwash, and you can also call selling NIPCO to NTPC the same thing with no brainer. Then, before suggesting, use some good construction so that you can transit from a part of body where you are criticizing to suggesting proper solutions, and your solutions matters, and those are the ones which will decide whether your criticisms are valid or not, because without providing alternative solutions, commenting on privatization would be pessimistic and cynical criticism. So let's suggest it. As we have wrote a lot, let's not waste much of time and space. Instead, we go for a diagrammatic or pictorial representation, or any flowchart that we could do to suggest them. So if you look at the alternatives to privatization, we can go for monetization. Asset monetization scheme recently has been launched. So we are monetizing the maybe land or other attached to brownfield investment, not the greenfield investment, but the brownfield. Remember, asset monetization is something that could be looked at. Then you can use the sovereign guarantee of government to raise money at lower rates in form of debentures. So those will help you recover the money to bridge the gap that you are intended to do with divestment. Then think of AT1 bonds, additional tier 1 capital, which would help you raise money by paying only interest, not principal, as you paid perpetually. For these two measures, you need brand image of government and its sovereign guarantee. Mind it, this is what it's important to raise it. So first protect the brand image of sovereign guarantee, then do these things to raise the money. Then we spoke about monetization of loss making PSUs. Then go for other two solutions where you can emulate the success story. You know that IRCTC's IPO, initial public offering, or raising the market money, was huge success, where you divest only 25%. Of course, additional 12% was given as FPO later on. Still, after giving that you're the owner, you didn't transfer the ownership. Instead, you use this company where you go for ticketing in railways fairly. At least the onus is on government to ensure fairness and availability of tickets. Could be emulated even with LIC. You can reduce the stakes, but not less than 50% to retain the ownership. Then you can use another tranche of Bharat 22 or CPSC bonds, emulate the same success story with other sectors as well, so that you can raise those proceeds. But after raising, there comes the issue. After raising them, use them for some productive purpose. For that, you need effective fund managers. Without effective fund managers, you would raise the money, but will you use them for productive purpose? There comes a question. There raises the doubt. So you need to prove that the money has been employed for productive purposes. We did it for small saving schemes, We used it for some effective purpose. Small saving schemes were uh, raising the money which were used by Food Corporation of India for 2 rupee, uh, 2 rupee per kg, grain availability, and other pension funds were utilized properly so far. So we had effective fund managers who did that. We need them more. Okay. Having said this, let's move on to way forward. What could be done later on? You need to end with proper conclusion way forward. Otherwise, this could be an hunky-dory answer as you were taking risk of criticizing it and suggesting solutions. So you need to end really, really good. So the privatizing oil marketing companies and public sector companies may pose threat to national security. Just imagine falling short of fuel and falling short of power and having blackouts whole day in whole country. Isn't it security threat to nation? Yes, it is. Let's broaden the horizon of country and ensure power sector companies and privatizing oil marketing companies will not be aggressive and government retains some control to regulate them so that equitable distribution of power happens, energy security and quality electricity is available. But if it is inevitable, we are in a situation of inevitability, then nothing less than a fair market price, not even a single rupee less than a fair market price has to be charged with no discounts. We should not give any deep discounts the way we had any time done it. So, without them, if we monetize public sector undertakings, we can ensure we can ensure there will be a trust instilled in the government and that could be used to raise further 81 bonds or debentures. So our main challenge here is to ensure there is no crony capitalism with selling of public sector undertakings under deep discount, and if that happens it could be unpardonable as trust deficit is created. So on this note, let's end it properly to ensure we get and encash good marks. Hope you can produce this in 10 minutes for 250 words, because end of the day writing within the time limit is biggest challenge than producing the quality content. On this note, I would end this video. Hope you gained something else. For more videos, keep subscribing and be notified with the new video. Till the time I meet you next time,